Hello students, today we'll start with unit 4, that is segments, windowing and clipping. And in this, first we will start with segments today. Now before starting, let's discuss some points which we have already covered. We see, till now we have seen how to display a particular object or image on screen. To display the object, we are actually storing the commands in display file, right, which are necessary to draw that object on the screen. But in real world, the picture or scenes are not made up of single object. In fact, it is a combination of several small sub pictures. Suppose we want to display a scenery, for example. Just imagine a scenery showing mountains, tree, sun, bird. If we are considering this combination, so in this picture, the objects which are to be considerably sun, bird, mountains and trees. Now if we want to apply some transformation on this scene, say we want to show that the bird is flying from one position to another, then we can achieve this effect by two ways. Now what is the first way? First way is to consider the bird sub picture as a foreground image and other part of the scene as background image. Then move the foreground image from its original position to new position and keep the background image as it is. Or the other way is we can have the second way, that is in which treat bird sub picture as background image and other part of scene as foreground image. Then keep bird sub picture as it is and move other part of the image. But in the second way, we have to move more than one sub picture, which is obviously very time consuming process. So we will select first method, in which we will move only bird sub picture. Now here we have to apply transformation on bird sub picture only, and there is no need to apply on rest of the sub pictures. As we know that to draw any picture on display unit, we have to first represent that picture by a set of commands in display file. Uh, in display file, we need a set of commands in display file. That set of commands will represent actually the whole scene. Suppose 20 commands are required to represent this scene in display file. Out of these 20 commands, say first 5 commands are required to draw only bird and remaining 15 commands are required for rest 3 sub pictures, right? So thus here we are classifying the total number of commands which are required to draw this scene in 4 groups. Each group is going to represent the commands required to draw single sub picture. Right? So now this is a basic introduction, and we'll start with our first main topic, that is segments. Now what is segment? We know that, as we have introduced, now we are dividing display file into number of subparts, right? We saw the subparts like hills, or we say mountain, sun, bird, tree. All these are subparts. So we are dividing the display file into number of subparts, which is called as segment. Each segment represents a small component of overall scene, right? Let me repeat. The display file, we are dividing the display file into number of subparts, which is called as segment, right? The display file which is divided into number of subparts is called as segment. Each segment represents a small component of the overall scene. Like each segment will show, for one particular segment will show the hill, other will show the sun, next will show the bird and tree. The term segment is used in graphic standard, while we can say in PHIGS graphic standard term structured is used. After defining the segment, we have to set the attributes of each segment. Right? Once the segment is defined, we have to set the attributes. The attributes include visibility and image transformation. Now, what is visibility? The visibility attribute, the visibility attribute indicates whether the segment is visible or not. The segment whose visibility attribute is set to on state, on, O and on. The segment whose visibility attribute is set to on state, that segment is visible. And if the visibility attribute is off, OFF off, then the segment is not visible. Right? So this is about visibility. The visibility attribute can be altered as per the requirements of the user. Similarly, to make a change in the image, we are using another attribute of segment, which is called as image transformation. We can change the size of the image by scaling transformation, or we can rotate the image, or we can shift the image by translation. So we have to set the image transformation attributes appropriately. Now we can proceed with other factors of the segment. So before that, let's repeat what is segment. Dividing the display file into number of subparts, then each part it's divided is called as segments, right? And each segment represent a small component of the overall scene. The attributes, now after defining the segment, we have to set the attributes of each segment. The attributes include, what does it includes? Visibility and image transformation. Visibility and image transformation. The visibility attributes indicate whether the segment is visible or not, right? And the segment's visibility attribute is set to on state if the segment is to be visible, and if the visibility attribute is off, then the segment is not visible. The visibility attribute can be altered as per requirement of the user, we can say. Now similarly, in image transformation, we can change the size, right? All these transformations are already seen and done by you, like scaling transformation, rotate, then translation, right? Scaling transformation is used to change of size, rotation is to rotate, and translation is to change the place, shift the image, we can say, right? So this is about segment, and next we'll see what is segment table and all the processes or operations which can be performed on the segment in next video.